Welcome to the BYOD podcast, Bring Your Own Directions. My name is Björn, co-CEO of Resolution, and in this show where every guest sets their own path, sharing insights and ideas about HR topics and the Atlassian ecosystem. Proudly sponsored by NASA, not another stand-up app. The Atlassian marketplace app that makes agile ceremonies, stand-ups, and planning sessions not just efficient, but enjoyable. So please stand by. Hey, today with me is Katharina from Seibert, and not Seibert Media anymore, as I learned a couple of months ago. Welcome. Thanks for passing by here.
Hi, Björn. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the invitation.
Perfect. Thanks. So we are shortly in front of a bank holiday in Germany. So May, June are always difficult from a business perspective because you have nearly every week a bank holiday.
Yes.
So how is your week so far?
Yeah, so actually I'm looking forward to a long weekend starting tomorrow with the first bank holiday. But yeah, of course, it's kind of like troubling the days before, so meeting after meeting. So actually, I'm looking forward to the end of the day.
Okay, cool. So is it for you, so for some people, it's like that they need to squeeze in the work of 5 days now, in your case, in 3 days. So is it more like this, or that you simple can say, it sounds like a next week problem for me?
Of course, there are some things I would say, okay, next week, but next week problems are not good problems actually. So, but the good thing is other people are off as well. So, of course, they don't have time. So, some topics needs to be scheduled for the next week. So, however, it has to flow,
Yeah. Got it. Oh, that's what I loved in the past when I was more in a role where I had daily customer or partner conversations and so on. So I always loved the time of Carnival because half of Germany was off for a week from, it's normally starting on a Wednesday or
Wednesday.
Yeah. So, and in Berlin, nobody gives care about Carnival. So it was, then you had a couple of days where you could work, where you could finish some stuff in your backlog, no meetings, etc., because all people running around in the street with a costume and having fun. And I was in the office and said, yeah, perfect. I have also fun. I can finish some tasks.
So I'm originally from Aachen. It's really close to Cologne.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I was one of those celebrating Carnival. So it was great to have to take holiday, but not to worry about too many stuff to do at this time. So yeah, but I can imagine it's a good time as well to get rid of those things you can never start because they're too big, and now you have time to do it. So yes.
Exactly. So you're now based in Wiesbaden?
Yeah.
Okay.
So our headquarters in Wiesbaden, and I'm based in Wiesbaden as well.
Okay. So when did you moved to Wiesbaden from Aachen?
9 years ago. So when I got the job at Seibert, I moved from Aachen to Wiesbaden. So actually from Duisburg, because there was my university.
Yeah.
But then I moved to Wiesbaden. Yeah.
Okay, good. So that was 9 years ago. There was still the time where people moved for jobs in different cities. So I mean, nowadays you don't have it so often anymore. We living in a world of remote teams and so on. Was it a difficult step for you to moving for a job to a different city?
So it was not only for the job. Maybe that's the difference, because my now husband has moved to Wiesbaden from Aachen. I think half a year before.
Yeah.
So it was like a really good step to move to him and to move to the city I will work in. And so yeah, so it's basically not only the job. It was love and the job,
Okay.
So
these
it was
are two good. These are two good reasons for the switching cities. What are you doing at Seibert?
So actually, I'm head of Atlassian head of Atlassian Services and Relationships. So on a strategic level, I'm aligning our services business units. I'm in close contact with Atlassian to get all the requirements Atlassian is asking us as a solution partner, and bring them to our teams, and of course the other way around. So I'm in contact with a lot of partners regarding relationships between Seibert and them, and that's basically my job now. But I started 9 years ago as a consultant. We focus on Confluence, as we are historically a company who is really like strong in Confluence, as we implemented Linchpin in the past. You might heard about it.
I know it.
And yeah, you know it. And it's an intranet tool, so we had a lot of services regarding intranet consultation and projects. Yeah, and that's what I started with.
So that's interesting, because 9 years ago, in the past, people worked 40 years for a company and did the same role. So you have different roles now. But when you compare your starting time, the first years, with the time now, not so much focused on your role, more on the customer requirements, because you were a consultant. So I assume you work daily with customers.
Yeah.
How has it changed during the years? Is it still the same? Customers still asking, how can I create a new Confluence page? Or
I would say it's 50-50 actually. So of course the customers changed and their requirements as well, but we as a company changed, and I think that was the biggest influence, because we changed our strategies from we are doing like custom development to we were selling standard products, so apps on the marketplace, and now it's switched again to like custom development, because the kind of our customers changed. So we started with like customers in mid-size, and now of course there are more enterprise customers with other requirements. So I think there are a lot of aspects that changed during these last 9 years. Our company growth, I started as I think 110 employees at Seibert, and now we are 500. So of course, it's totally different now.
Yeah, I can imagine. So 110 is already you need a proper organization around it. You have things like HR and so on. You have a structure. You have teams. You have team leads, etc. But yeah, it's a different scale to do it with 500 people. What would you say, when we look a little bit in Atlassian? How has Atlassian changed from your perspective over the years?
So from my perspective, from a really personal perspective, it was like Atlassian, of course, was a big company when I started at Seibert, but it was like more cozy, and everybody knew like C-level at Atlassian, and the company was like very familiar, or seemed to be very familiar.
Yeah.
And now it's like a really big company. They like trading, and they grew. They bought products. So it's totally different actually. But if you would ask me what time do I like more, so the past or now?
That would be my next question.
Sorry. I would say, of course, now, because everything got more professional. So the work with Atlassian is really professional. Seibert got more professional. So actually, I prefer these times.
Okay. A lot of stuff is going on. So I discussed it with a couple of people also at Team 25 and so on. It feels like that this year, especially as a solution partner or a marketplace partner, So many things are changing this year. There are so many upcoming changes where Atlassian want that solution partners adopted quickly or marketplace partners adopted quickly. So that in some cases, I have the feeling they overwhelm the whole ecosystem a little bit. Is it Atlassian's fault? Maybe half of it. I think the other half is potentially just the time. I mean, technology is changing at the moment more on an hourly rate or daily rate instead of every 1 or 2 years you have a new big thing, and now you have every week a new big thing, which is coming up. So how? What is your strategy, your personal strategy with all the more stuff? I mean, in the past it was Jira, Confluence, maybe a little bit Bitbucket and Fisheye and all the old stuff.
Yeah.
So nowadays everything is called apps. We are talking about work items and not issues anymore. We're talking about teams, focus, plans, Guard, Confluence, Rovo, you name it, a lot more. The list is nearly endless. What is your strategy, especially when you're working with Atlassian, also on a strategic level, to stay up to date with all these informations?
So actually, it's kind of a challenge. We just implemented a new role. We have a partner program manager that now just responsible for getting any information we get from Atlassian regarding like incentives or new products, new programs, because it's like really overwhelming. So there are good things coming up, but you cannot get them all. So we have just one person just looking for that. So that's like one of our first approaches to get these things all together. But actually, I see a good chance, especially for solution partners, because there was a time when cloud was coming up where we thought like, okay, the software is getting really easy to use. Do customers need us to manage their systems? Like, do they need consulting? Do they need project management? Or is it that easy to do it themselves? Actually, it was not the case, but it was kind of a fear we had.
It was a risk, yeah.
But now, with this whole system of work and all the apps from Atlassian, and of course the apps from partners in the ecosystem, I think it's not handleable for customers to see all the potential that the Atlassian tools have without having a partner that teaches them. So I think it's a really good chance for us as a solution partner, actually.
Okay, that's super interesting, because it's okay. Atlassian make it at the moment so complex that solution partners have a new opportunity, where maybe a couple of years, 3, 4, 5 years, where the server end of life was announced, everybody was a little bit in the, what does it mean? We have 50 sysadmins, they managing data center and servers for customers. They are not needed anymore in the future. So means seibert somehow managed to run a transformation also for all the consultants and all your employees and teams from a server data center, more techie world to now consultant world. What would you say is now the consulting? Is it business process management? Is it project management? What is the most requested stuff?
I would say both. So of course they are like managing problems of customers, giving them solutions. So it's a big point to have solutions for specific use cases a customer has. And yeah, it's of course it's a technical consulting as well, because there are like technical issues, especially in Jira. There are some things, automations to do and anything else, but it's more than like it might be like org consulting as well.
Okay.
It changed, and what changed as well, our consulting business grew a lot. So I think 1.5 years ago, we had like 20 consultants. We have now 45 to 50. Yeah.
That's a lot. I had a meeting last Friday, funny wise, with a joint customer of us. So I
Yeah.
can't name it, but a big organization, and they are implementing Agile Hive
Yeah.
at the moment. It's a huge cloud infrastructure, and your seibert is heavily involved in consulting. But another point is also education.
Mhm.
I mean, you can install Agile Hive, and then you can go away and say, "Good luck, have fun."
Mhm.
But they somehow created together with you, and I assume you are seibert offered this also complete training packages to adopting all the
Yeah.
new software, the new possibilities. And they said for them, and that's an organization with a huge 5-digit number of users.
Mhm.
So for them, the biggest challenge at the moment is to adapting all these changes. So they were a data center customer in the past. So data center was in the last couple of years relatively stable also from the UI. So means
Mhm.
for a user, it was looking, the UI was looking 2020 like 2021, like 2022, and so on. And especially when you go on Cloud and Cloud Jira in the last couple of weeks, the whole UI changed.
Yeah.
So means the challenge of adoption of all these new things means seibert need to have a recipe that your consultant or the whole organization is always a step ahead, that you can
Mhm.
consult or help organizations with that. How do you manage this as seibert? I mean, that is also what you need to explain to Atlassian, I assume, in your role, why seibert is the best solution partner in Germany or other countries and so on. And our value is X, Y, Z. So how do you manage to be a step ahead for all these new things?
So again, it's a challenge, and I would say we try to manage it, but of course, it's not working every time. But I think a good relationship to Atlassian means we get informations not earlier than others, because there is like a partner portal where we get all the information, but we
Yeah,
can discuss those topics earlier. So having a good relationship to Atlassian, to our partner manager, is an important step, because then we, so me and Nadine, you know her,
yeah,
have the role to forward all this information to the company. And of course, our partner program manager, who I was talking about.
yeah,
So it's more of distribution of information, and that really quickly. And of course, enablement of all the consultants. So like trainings, short videos. So Loom is really good to use for those cases, like showing something new. Because of course the consultants are in their daily businesses, they're with customers. They
yeah,
do not have the time to get this information, like, or consuming that on a daily basis.
yeah,
And so it's our it's a requirement for to us to provide it,
yeah.
so that that the consultants can consume it like on a very easy way.
How
But it's a
important?
challenge. So
Yeah. I think I get more and more a picture of it. Um, how important are meetings for you in this
Mhm.
process?
So actually, meetings are important, but we have a lot of distributed teams. So we started as a company that was located mostly in Wiesbaden, Frankfurt, Mainz. So
Yeah,
Rhine-Main area.
yeah. One
And it was
region.
easy. Yeah, one region. So it was easy. Prior to Corona, everyone was in the office, so not a problem at all. But of course, times changed, and sorry, and we hired colleagues from other cities, from other countries, and it's not that easy to have those like meetings that are at the same time. It's like not working anymore.
Yeah,
So um, of course, for important topics that needs to be discussed, we set up meetings, we record meetings, we have transcripts. AI is helping like a lot, because transcripts or meeting summaries are getting better from day to day.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to give them the option to get information not only synchronously but asynchronously. And I think that's a thing. It might be a meeting, but not everyone can join. So of course you
Yeah.
have to deal with others.
Okay.
Other solutions.
Interesting. So let's jump a little bit in the second part, because it fits really well now, about meeting behavior, especially your meeting behavior. So I learned already, and potentially I will adjust it in the future for the podcast. So you answered a couple of questions in the survey, which I will share in a second here, and I will pick some of them. I already learned that I potentially should send the survey also to your peering points. That would be interesting to reflect how they think you're doing it. But let me quickly share my screen. So I need to press here button and entire screen, and here we are. So the first part of questions is journaling. And what is interesting here in the journaling? I mean, we can see already in the first 20 minutes here of the podcast that, and I strongly believe it, you communicate in a concise and engaging way. So no questions about this. But this question, the first one here, is about, I mean, I asked for stand-ups. I know you had stand-ups or dailies more in the past, so a year, 1.5 years ago. And you focused your answers a little bit on this time. So, but your structure was not the classic 3 agile questions. What was your structure for these often happening jour fixes, dailies, weeklies, whatever?
Yeah, so it was more weeklies than dailies actually, so specifically in my role. And as you already said, things are changing very quickly. And actually, it was a meeting where I tried to get rid of all these topics I need to share with my teams. So it was like, okay, there's topic X. Okay, write it down for the weekly. And we had like a weekly meeting protocol. And it was more like a collection of topics. And now I would say it was not structured really well, actually. But it was like a solution for us to try to talk about all those topics we need to talk about in an hour, in a common hour we had in a week. Yeah, maybe not the best solution actually, but it somehow worked.
I mean, I did it similar in my previous jobs, and from time to time I also try it today. So when your team knows that there's this one point of the week or multiple points of the week to address all the topics, it normally decreases the amount of one-to-one conversations, Slack messages, etc., and gives you every person more focused time. So when the whole team adopted, okay, I need to discuss something with 2 people of the team, I put it in our weekly, then there is no additional meeting. That's the theory.
And it kind of worked like this. So yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Kind of.
That's good. That's good to know. I had in the past often that people were so engaged about a new topic. They need to discuss it immediately, and then you had 10 additional meetings in the week about the topics which you discussed in the weekly. Then again, but interesting. Okay.
But actually, the good thing was that everyone of the team was committed to these meetings. So it was one of the most important meetings in the week, because everybody knew this is the meeting where we get updates, where I can raise a topic, and everybody will listen to me. So that was the good thing, I guess.
That brings me direct to another question for the active listening, because the challenge on recurring meetings is to keep them interesting, meaningful, valuable for everybody, and so on. And I personally think one of the biggest challenges is that people pay attention to the stuff, because it is so easy. Also for me, I see it sometimes on myself. I say, okay, focus on the meeting. In some cases, I close all my Slack and email stuff and so on, that I can avoid the multitasking. But sometimes it happens, because sometimes a topic came to my mind. I start to taking notes, and I'm going a little bit in a small rabbit hole, and I'm not paying attention in the meeting anymore. So what was for these weeklies, but also maybe today, what is your recipe that you avoid multitasking and active listen to it, because you strongly agree to it, for yourself, but also how do you spread this to your team? So
to be honest, it would have been a good idea to ask my peers if they would answer it the same, because for me it's like a bit easy to say, as I most of the time had like an active part in this meeting, because I was the one preparing the topics. So not all topics, but 80% of the topics, and leading the meeting. So of course for me it was easy to avoid multitasking in those kind of meetings. And I don't know if everybody was listening to me, because there were 30 people, and I don't know. I shared information. I got, of course, some responses, but it would be interesting to ask them if they avoided multitasking. Hopefully they did. But however, so for me, it depends on the meeting, actually. So if it's in one-on-one and we are in a conversation, of course, there is nothing that will like get my attention. But in a meeting where I don't have an active part and I'm listening, and not everything that they are talking about is like really interesting or reasonable for me, I need to try not to check my emails and everything else. So I'm not sure if I have a really good recipe for it, actually. Do you have one for me?
I mean, what I try to remember myself, or remind myself, is it's a sign of respect also, especially
of course.
It's super hard for topics where you maybe just get half of it or 20% of it, because two developers talking about something where developers talking about what I then can't understand when it's too technical. Then it's hard to focus. And but I learned in the past that it pays out after a while when you also focus, because you can learn a lot of stuff. You maybe not understanding in the beginning 100%, but after a while you understand more and more what they are discussing. So it's this learning effect on things which are maybe outside of my ballpark when two people discussing something. And then the combination with the taking or paying respect to the time that when other people discussing things which are not paying, or where I'm not super paying attention to it. It's a little bit the second reminder, but it's, I think, also a two-sided game. Also everybody who is discussing something or presenting something or having a two-person chat in a 30 people meeting should respect the time of all attendees. So and I think that's where people struggle most, that on some point somebody need to say stop. Do it.
I think that's a really good point. That's a really good point. What I do is, after meetings where I like recognize that I was not really actively listening or doing other stuff, I reflect myself, was this a valuable meeting for me? And or were I valuable for the meeting? Because sometimes you think it's not a valuable meeting for me, but people need your, I don't know, knowledge or your ideas or something else. And if both questions are answered with a no, I would not attend this meeting again, like, okay, it's a waste of the time for the people in the meeting and for me as well. I think that's sometimes a strategy. So a meeting must be valuable either for me or for my colleagues.
Yeah.
And otherwise, why should I join? So yeah.
So what was the biggest size you made? You said 30 people. So 30 people in these weeklies?
Yeah, it's because our consulting department is that big. So we have now like 45 to 50 people. And of course, it's a meeting for all. So since I'm not the business owner of the consulting team anymore, they made some changes and now they have like squads. So smaller teams, and the smaller teams have like daily. So they have another meeting culture now. And they have just one monthly for the whole department. So they changed things, and I think it was a really good idea to do it. It was, when I was in, it was a time we were growing and we were not really sure about how to handle it. But I think now they have like really better structured meetings. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's also always a point that when I see it on our, we have a 3-week meeting cadence with the whole company. Resolution is much smaller. We are around 30 people. So, and it's called alignment, demos, and discussions. And I see already a meeting with 30 people. It is hard to get proper discussion about something. And so I don't know what exactly the break even is to where it gets so difficult that you have a proper discussion. When a meeting with 4 or 5 people, you discuss specific topics, everybody is more engaged and so on as with the 30 people. So it's interesting. Cool, good. Value delivery of meetings. I mean, we discussed already a lot about value in the meetings. So, and you explained how the consulting team is doing it now in smaller meetings and so on. So all your answers are nearly all answers are neutral here. So means shows me okay. Meetings can be helpful. You explained also your journey with your weekly where you discussed the topics and so on, or where you prepared the topics. What are other points or other strategies from you besides meetings to remove and solve blockers on time, for example, or also getting feedback to work from other people and so on? Because when you're neutral here on meetings, then you must have something else.
Yeah, so we are using Google Chat really frequently, and of course, not everybody likes the noise we have in chats. I think you need to be kind of person that can handle it because it can get really overwhelmed. But however, I think it's a good way to like give for your information. So for your information, and you have read it and you know about it, but maybe you have questions, you can ask those questions. Maybe it's okay for you. So I think this is for some topics, for me, a really good and easy way to avoid a meeting, because I can just share some information that is not that important.
Okay.
But yeah, so I really like chatting. I know that not everybody likes it. For me, it's like a really good way to have asynchronous communication with my colleagues. But
that's super interesting, because I'm completely on the other side. So I mean, my phone looks always like this, with a lot of big red dots on every chat thing and so on.
That would make me really nervous, actually. So I'm like the inbox zero type, So
okay, I tried it several times. So at the moment, AI is organizing my inbox. So
really good.
And so I'm now also inbox zero, but I have 5 more folders which I need to check now. So no, but that's super interesting, because I'm definitely not the person, and I'm chatting also a lot. You have Slack, you have WhatsApp, with some people, you have Teams or Google Chat or whatever. So it means you're always on, not always online, but you're online in 3, 4, 5 chat tools. how do you organize it during your day? Because I find it super disturbing when I have the sound on for everything and get everywhere message, then I would never focus on something. It would be continuous context switching. So how do you manage it?
So actually no sounds and alerts. So I need to check my inbox or my chats actively. And I do it on a regular base. So I would say every time I have like 5 or 10 minutes between meetings or something, I check the inbox and try to prioritize what is important, what needs like a quick answer or fast answer, what can I do tomorrow. So this works actually fine. I'm using Todoist. It's not good in the Atlassian ecosystem to say it, but it's for my, these are tasks for me personally. So I have my private tasks in there as well.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm sitting on the couch in the evening. Oh, you need to check that. And then I'm just writing it down and it's fine for me. Of course I can raise a Jira issue as well, but no, it's too much for it. It's just a reminder for me. So if there are like important things, I'm reminding myself with my Todoist hack. And yeah, of course, there are some chats that are not answered for some days, some time, but I think it's okay. So for me, it's fine. But so one story, we had a merge 1.5 years, a bit more ago, where we like split it up our Atlassian solution business from the seibert group, and we merged with 4 other Atlassian partners. And one of the other partners' biggest challenges was our Google Chat, because I guess all seibert people were like so. We using chat frequently, and it's fine for us. There are like 100 of chats, and it's okay. I can handle it. And they were like, "No, I don't want to chat. One more chat, no chats." And it was kind of funny actually, because you see, we are really used to it at seibert, and they came from other companies and had other tools, and they were like totally overwhelmed of all our chats. So
I can imagine
that is really special for seibert.
yeah. I mean, it's to having these continuous feed of information. Has tons of benefits, but exactly you need to find a way to handle it. Because I can also, what I see there, the biggest challenge is when you have these continuous feed about a lot of things are not important for you. It's like you said in the beginning, for your information. So I think the biggest challenge, but not just to chat, but in general today, is what information is at the moment important for me, for my work or what I want to do, and so on. And that's where Atlassian is going more and more with their teamwork graph thing and connecting all the tools to Jira and Confluence. And when you search for a topic, you find the Slack conversation to it or the chat conversation to it, and so on. I think that's a really cool way. I'm playing since a couple of weeks with that. It's not working really, really good at the moment because it's not happening in real time. And as you said, when you have hundreds of chats, so for you it's not important which Slack message was or Google chat message was 5 years ago. You want to see what happened yesterday or today. But interesting. I don't know if I could handle it, all these hundreds of chats.
Of course, there are times where I cannot handle it because it's too much, but I have some blockers in my calendar where I try to get rid of all those messages. Like
a little bit of getting things done.
It sounded a bit like if that they are not important. Of course, some of them are really important. But without those blockers, I wouldn't find the time to answer everybody properly. And colleagues are waiting for answers. So, of course, I don't want to let them for 2 weeks or something. So there are like 2 blockers in my calendar where I check all my open issues, I would say.
Cool. We are already in part 3 of the podcast and talking about, I know your topic already, but let me officially ask, what's your topic? So as you know, in this podcast, every guest can bring their own topic. What's yours?
So I will bring distributed teams. I think we already talked a lot about distributed teams,
Yeah.
how to handle communication, and I think it's an interesting, of course not a new, but an interesting and ongoing topic. And um, I would assume that there's not the answer to handle distributed teams, and every company needs to decide or see on their own what works. But
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of tools coming up, especially from Atlassian, helping to work in distributed teams like Loom or all the AI tools like Rovo. And so I think it's an ongoing topic, but we get some solutions or some helpers for it.
Yeah. I mean, it's I totally agree. So how to enable distributed teams that they work efficiently, have fun together, and so on. It's an ongoing topic. It's maybe not the highest topic at the moment on every news feed and so on, but hey, organizations are still adopting it and still having the challenge. Let's talk about Loom in a second, but we have a little bit of better understanding. So you mentioned, okay, you had a merge with a couple of other organizations. You spoiled already a little bit that, okay, they haven't adopted your chat behavior immediately, and for them it was more, whoa, what's that?
Yeah.
So help us a little bit to get a picture in seibert, because I also know you have these amazing offices in Wiesbaden with a lot of cool working spaces, open areas. You have your own canteen, more restaurant stylish, with amazing food and so on. So means you're doing also a lot that people coming into the office and are not working just as distributed teams. How's the picture in seibert? So how many offices you have, how many people working in the office, outside, and so on, and then let's jump into the topics.
Yeah, so within the seibert group, we are like about 500 people. I guess I already said that. And we have 4 offices in Wiesbaden, but they are really close by. So you can walk by 5-minute walk from one to another office. So actually, it feels like it's one office. So this is basically our headquarter in Wiesbaden. And after the merge, we got some locations in Austria, and in Stuttgart and in Münster. So of course, people are living and working from there. And we have our US part, so seibert US, where a lot of people are working. Of course, they're all like working remotely. There's no office or location. And of course, we are in contact with our colleagues from the US because they're consultants as well. There are customers we share, customers we have, like people from Germany working on, and so in the US. And we have some new subsidiaries in Denmark, and we are shortly before having one in France. There's just a bit missing. So, so there are now a lot of people not working from Wiesbaden and this area. And of course, after COVID, we were hiring people from other cities. So we have like colleagues from like North Rhine-Westphalia. We have colleagues in Munich, and it's a chance as well because it's good to have someone sitting there and are close to some customers. But I would say like, I don't know the exact number, but I would say 75% of our employees are living in Wiesbaden and like surrounding.
Okay. So means, to summarize it a little bit, a lot of German cities, relatively new Denmark, France, and complete different time zones in US. So, okay, clearly distributed teams. Also, different cultures, different cultures to work. So we talked about meetings already a lot, and I mean, okay, meetings are always a fair value or a fair tool to organize work between teams in general, but also especially distributed teams. You mentioned Loom. So Atlassian addressed Loom to Team 24, I think. As a meeting replacement. And I remember that I was sitting in the keynote, and that's not a meeting replacement tool. So I used Loom before already, and I was a little bit disappointed with how they place the tool now, because I'm a strong believer of meetings are important, discussions are important, and so on. And immediately in my head, a picture started. Okay, then I'm sending in the future 1 Loom to my team. I'm getting 5 Looms back with a feedback, or I open a Confluence page and then I have a discussion there. How is this more efficient as having a proper meeting? But then I learned relatively quick for me, and I still believe Atlassian is addressing it a little bit wrong, but anyway, that's my personal opinion. It is amazing. It's an amazing bad meeting replacement, because there are tons of meetings in organizations sometimes where just, I don't know, the management shares the actual quarter numbers, where these classic all hands, nobody is saying anything, there is no feedback needed, it's just pure consuming what's going on. This is perfect for Loom. So how have you implemented or what are you doing with Loom in your distributed teams? So where you maybe cut it off meetings and said, okay, these are Looms now, and how is it working?
So first of all, I would totally agree. It's not a meeting replacement for me. There are different types of meetings, and especially those meetings where you have discussions and are talking about specific topics cannot be properly replaced by a Loom video. For me, it's more the character of I would like to inform people about new topics. So we were talking about the Atlassian ecosystem. Everything is changing so quickly. And in these special cases, for me, it's like a really good way to use a Loom video, because it's not a message I write in a chat and nobody's reading it because it's just for your interest.
I learned all of your reading messages.
No, they are not. It would be great, but but I did my job. I informed them. No, just joking. Just joking. But it's a good way to show in a really short time some new or special topics. I can record my screen, but it's personally, so it's not just a page or just a video, just a screen recording. I am talking in this video, and this makes it more personal and for me easier to explain something, because to record a Loom video, it takes me like 5 minutes. And if I write something on a wiki page, I will jump in that a few minutes later. But if I write it just on a wiki page, it takes more time, because I have to think about, okay, how can I write it that everybody understands it? If I'm talking in a natural way, it's more easy for me. And the good thing is, Loom videos are transcripted, and it's actually working really well. They are translated if you would like to. So we have, of course, a lot of colleagues that are not speaking German, but sometimes for me, it's easier to make a short video in German. And they can just translate it. They have a transcription. If they don't want to watch a video, they can just read the transcription. And if they have questions or if they have feedback, they can comment on the video. They can give me reactions. So in terms of meetings that are more informationable, it's a really good way, and really easy for me to share information, because it's not a lot of work for me to do, and it gets really fast. So this is actually my use case.
It's a really good one, and I think that the classic best practice also what you should do at Loom. I mean, I know Loom since, I don't know, many years, because Loom was the first tool where you could do these personalized videos. It was first a sales tool. It was they started with these, instead of writing an email to your customer or to your lead, send them a quick Loom video, and it was a super fast and easy way to create a personalized video to, dear Volkswagen, I'm Björn, I'm selling bananas, we should have a meeting. So it's super interesting how their business model also changed to go instead of these 100 shot videos to customers and replace the company name with the actual name in my email, blah, 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 to going to these internal communication stuff. You mentioned Confluence pages already. So I assume this is also an important part in how to work with distributed teams. So what I see at the moment on my personal behavior, and also in other organizations when I talk to them, especially writing stuff changed completely with AI. So for example, I'm mostly talking with my MacBook instead of typing something, because I have Super Whisper. I don't need to type anymore. So then I talk to an LLM about a topic, or I use it on my phone when I'm out with the dog. Then I say, create a Confluence page out of it. It creates automatically a Confluence page. I have it in Confluence, done. So I remember these times what you also explained, that you need to sit down 1-2 hours, think about a topic, how to write it. So that's much faster now. What I find super interesting is that the addressed person, the reader, is then taking AI to summarize all the stuff. So means we are a little bit now in a world, an HR person explained it to me, who was or is responsible for job applications. And I said, it's so weird at the moment. When somebody applies for a job, I can absolutely see when I get a CV, AI-generated CV, and they're taking so much effort to have these beautiful AI-generated CV, and then I'm using AI to shrink it down to a couple of bullet points to consume it easier. And what I have at the moment in my mind, would it then not be easier to just communicate with these bullet points instead of doing it always big and small? How do you use Confluence in seibert? So for informations which should be consistent, manuals or process descriptions or whatever, how do you use it?
Do you mean in terms of AI or in general?
In general, I mean, Atlassian has now Robo for everybody, AI for everybody. So it means everybody can click now on summarize it. So I assume it's also changing a little bit the behavior of your colleagues at the moment. So what's going on?
So sure. Information that needs to be consistent needs to be written down in a Confluence page. However, so of course some colleagues are using AI, some are not, but it needs to be written down. But actually, what I like is that you can do this nearly automatically with tools like with AI or with tools like Loom. So you can say, okay, I have this Loom video, but this information needs to be consistent, so put it on a Confluence page. And I have my Confluence page with a description of the topics within the video, and a link to the video. So if, depending on who is consuming this information, they can either watch the video or read the text. And what is kind of a challenge, or has been kind of a challenge, our Confluence is like really open. Everybody can do everything, like no restrictions. And actually, I like it because I think it's the idea of Confluence. So not having restrictions, and whoever is going to publish a page should do it. And actually, it doesn't matter where it is. But the problem is to find relevant content then. And this is something AI can help with. So if you see Rovo, it's like integrating not only Confluence, but all other business relevant tools. And actually, I don't care where the information is lying. Is it in Confluence or is it in Google Spreadsheets or wherever? I can search for it across all these tools. And my aim is to find something I need in a really short time, and that's basically working. And I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, that's. Are you doing it with Rovo, or do you using other tools to find information across platforms?
Yeah, so Rovo actually not for a long time now. So it's quite new in the way it is working. Before Rovo, it was more like, okay, I think it was in Confluence, so I used Confluence. And but Rovo helps really well.
I'm massively looking forward how Rovo will improve in the next couple of weeks and months. So because with all these new capabilities, for me it feels like that Rovo has one amazing benefit because it has the context of your organization. It has access to Jira, access to Confluence, access to 50 more tools when you connect them. So that's a huge benefit. But the whole large language model capabilities feeling a little bit outdated in some cases. So I have still the problem that we have in our NASA app, we have also 2 Rovo agents, which we provide. And the use case here is when you went 1 week for vacation, you're coming back and you want to have a summary of all your meetings. Then you simply ask the Rovo agent, okay, give me a summary. Funny wise, it adds up the attendees of the meeting for every meeting. So means when my marketing team with 5 people having a daily on 5 days, it's ending up in my summary that I have 25 people in my marketing team. So so it's in some cases it's still a little bit experimental. I mean, that's all with AI. So there is always this huge discussion of I discuss it a lot with people because I get often these storyline. Okay, with UI, you're not really thinking about stuff anymore, and you just prompt it, you take the output, you send it to somebody, etc. And my behavior is different. The first part is absolutely right. So I put nearly everything nowadays in AI, but I'm reading a lot more. So I have at the moment learning curves, which are amazing. So now I'm a strong believer that you anyway need to read the output. Also, when you say, okay, please write a novel of 900 pages, you should read it. And I think Rovo hopefully improves there. And I mean, that's a rule for all AI tools. They will be never so good or bad as they are today. They are all improving massively. But it's a long intro how I'm using it at the moment. I created since a couple of weeks. Anthropic, the other big company next to OpenAI, came up in December with a concept of it's called MCP server. It's a super easy way of connecting tools to large language models. And I have now in Claude, which is the pendant to ChatGPT, a lot of MCP servers connected to my emails, to my Jira, to my Confluence, to my Slack, to an internal knowledge base where I have my informations and I'm just communicating with that.
That's
And
great.
that's so amazing because I can, my morning starts, it's still also not working perfect, but my morning starts, I have one separate chat for it, give me my daily journal. So, and then I have also some news, weather forecast, and so on. And when I'm walking with the dog in the morning, I can just read in parallel what's happened yesterday, what happened in my mails, what is maybe a Slack message, what I missed, and so on. And I get a little bit like a president briefing. So that's my briefing. That's happened yesterday, and I start much easier. And I think Atlassian is strongly going in this direction to enable this at the moment a little bit techie approach to business teams.
Yeah. But this is a really interesting approach. I would like to have a journal for me as well in the morning. So you get me some ideas.
I can send you some links. I was
Thank
the idea
you.
was not my idea. It was a lot of YouTube stuff what I watched, and one person really it started with how to create your president briefing with your information, and this person was mostly focused on news sources, and the interesting point there was that because we are living in a world of fake news and wrong information and so on. So my partner tried to tell me a couple of weeks ago that Titanic 2 will be soon in the movie theaters. And I said, wait, how is the storyline from Titanic with Jack and Rose? And for a second, for a second part. And then we fact-checked it a little bit. And I learned there is a new category. It's called mockbuster. These are fan fictions where people create trailers for faked movies and creating also storylines for it and so on. So anyway, you need to check fake news or in general, is information right? And this was a little bit the starting point for the idea, having all the news channels, what I consume, to have the fact check automatically, have it in the briefing. And then I figured out, I can put my emails in it as well, my Slack as well. And that's really cool. So I will potentially create a video as a manual anyway on YouTube for it, and then I share it with you how you can.
Awesome. Looking forward.
Back to business distributed teams. We talked about Confluence and consistent information in Confluence. Information which need to be shared with the team when you have a new strategy or update from Atlassian or whatever, where you just want to share something, you are using Loom. What else is important for you in distributed teams? I mean, it's super hard. I had a colleague in the past in Brazil. I had colleagues in Spain. I managed many, many years European sales teams. For me, it was always hard to keep everybody engaged and to form everybody in parallel about the same information. That's now much easier with all the tools that nobody's keeping behind. But what else is important for you to manage distributed teams?
So actually, one thing is culture. So distributed teams mean there might be different cultures, and I think it's really, really important to get to know them, to know how to communicate, because it might be in a different way. Actually, this is something you won't have a playbook for. This is something you need to learn by the time and playbook.
Let's start the fourth part of the podcast. I just share my screen. Progress with your story. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you.
So I would say there is no playbook. This is something you need to figure out, because it's depending on what cultures we are talking about. And I think it's really important to get to know the people behind different locations, and to see how to work with them. And depending on this, like a personal way of communication, in my eyes, is really important, because this is actually a struggle we had in the beginning of our merge. So there were a lot of new colleagues, and I haven't seen them personally or in a meeting or somewhere else. There were some colleagues I just chatted with, and for me it's really important to have a relationship to someone when I work together with him. So relationship can have many dimensions, like knowing them personally, having lunch together, but it might be just having a meeting where we see each other, or knowing how this person looks like when she or he is talking. So this is for me like having a personal connection. Actually, this is something why I like Loom, because I see someone, so even if I'm not really like connected to them, it feels like a connection. And especially for C-level or something, it could be a good way to get connections to their employees. So I would say this is like a challenge, and something where you don't have a playbook for.
Yeah, it's totally agree. I mean, it's a couple of years ago, but when I managed the European sales team, I managed before a German sales team. So also most of the people in the same office, not so distributed. And then I got a new role, and I got a team in Netherlands and Sweden, UK, France, Italy, and Spain. So, and that was so difficult for me to jump into this role. Then yes, you start traveling to all the offices, because I tried exactly what you explained. So I need to meet these guys in person, and I need to create a relationship. And then I struggled massively with that, because I'm relatively direct. And I mean, when you ask other European people what is an attribute of Germans, they are direct. It's and this could be challenging, and just alone in UK. UK is super polite. The communication in business is really, really polite. So in Germany, you normally would write maybe a Google Chat message to a colleague, hey, can you please finish report XYZ for me? In UK, the message will look completely different. And it's more, hey, how are you? Can you do me a favor? When it fits in your schedule, it would be amazing when you can help me a little bit with this report. I need it till end of the week. Well, I don't want to disrupt your workflow, blah, blah, blah. 20 more lines.
Yeah.
And I always did the German way. And it was super hard for my team and me. They thought the first 6 months I'm rude.
I totally can imagine. So actually, I told that we merged with colleagues from Austria, and because they're speaking the same language, it feels like it should be the same culture, but even this is not the same culture. So even our colleagues from Austria are a bit different, and it's really hard to get to know how to communicate with each other. So from both sides, I guess. So I totally can imagine that they think you're rude because it's a German way.
The interesting point is, again, AI helps me here a lot nowadays.
Really good.
So when I write an email, for example, I use also AI tools for it. In most of the cases, I implement in my prompt, this is an email for a person based in the United States. This is an email for a person based in Austria, and so on. And it changed the tone so massively. But yeah, it's no, culture is important. I had in a podcast, it's not published yet, but also recorded with Sabrina from Catworks. She said that she really needs these personal contact first, before it starts really to be an established, amazing collaboration, etc. So is it? How is it for you? You also said, okay, you try to meet the people to somehow start to create a relationship on a lot of different ways. But would you say that in distributed teams, minimum once you should have met the person?
Actually, I would agree. So it's always better to have met them once. What we did, and I think it was really a good idea for us at Seibert in total. We had like a kick-off 2-day event where we invited all these new colleagues to our headquarters in Wiesbaden. We had 2 days with a lot of job-related topics, but of course some time for socializing as well. So we had lunch together, we went for dinner together, we had a party at the end, and I think it made it much more easy to work together afterwards. Of course, not everybody was there, but from my perspective, for the people I met there and I have talked to, even if it's just one sentence, it's much easier to work with them.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And I think this was a really, really good invest.
For sure. That's I'm also when we do kickoff meetings once a year or multiple times a year, it's always coming together a couple of days. It's a game changing somehow. Yeah? It's you're taking the time discussing topics a little bit also out of the daily routines. So we made 2 times the mistake that we made these kickoffs. Well, I personally think it's a mistake to make the kickoff in cities where half of the team lived. So nowadays we are doing these kickoffs always on locations where nobody is based, because then you don't have these strange situations that some people need to cover family topics in the evening, sleeping at home. So when you go away to a complete different place, everybody is in a hotel, you can continue with a conversation where you started during the day, maybe at dinner or at the bar later or whatever. It's a complete different thing. Yeah, I agree. How was you mentioned in the beginning, and that's also where we are in part number 4 of this podcast, where I always ask, okay, what was a situation where you haven't had or couldn't find an existing playbook and you started by yourself? Okay, that's to work with these distributed teams. You haven't found a playbook. So what was your journey then? So how was your starting point? Because it's difficult when you don't have a manual for something. So then you have a task and then, okay, how should I start now? What was your starting point?
So you mean for the whole like spin-off and getting together all these teams? Yeah. So what we did is we built up like a task force, I would say a task force, with people from all these partners that work together. That build like alignment on topics. And what we did is, because most of them were the like ex-CEOs from these partners and some other people, so for example including me, but what we did as well is we had like a group of colleagues, so employees from all of these partners working together, addressing like more cultural topics. So topics like I have the feeling that the employees of our company will have problems with like using chat tools in the way you are using it, or they feel like they are not integrated correctly. So like more personal and cultural topics. And I think it's really important not to ignore this part, because there is the business part of a merge and a spin-off. So, but it's more actually the merge than the spin-off. But it's always the personal people part as well, because it's a big change and people are feeling really insecure. They don't know what to expect. They have the feeling of their people coming to us that I don't know what will change, what will they do. And I think it's really, really important to talk about all this stuff. And even if it's quite a lot, it takes a lot of time. And of course, now it's feeling really good. We are feeling as one company since a lot of months, but some of those topics are coming up again. I think it will take some more time.
It's a change is a continuous thing.
Yeah, it is.
Interesting. So let's. I have so many questions about it, but I need to look a little bit on the time. But one question is, you normally with these mergers, and you said it already a little bit between the lines, a classic situation which can be a little bit hard is you merge with a company or acquisition or whatever, and then somebody comes in and in German you would say, weiß es besser, how to do stuff. So then this person comes in, hey, hello, we are seibert, we know much better how to do this as you are doing it today.
Yeah.
And this creates this weird situation of maybe it's absolutely right that you know it better because you see a super crappy process and think, okay, guys, you're working like 1980. Please change it. But at the same time, you need to balance it now with in the communication and so on, because you can't go into a company and say, this is shit, this is shit, this is shit. So how do you handle these situations?
Yeah, so I would not say I would say we had this situation as well because, of course, the seibert part of the merge was the biggest part. So we brought like most of the people. And I would assume that the other partners sometimes had the feeling of seibert knows better and they are trying to explain how it works. But I think we figured this out very quickly, and it was really important for us to not just to really have a merge and to partnership and not to say, okay, we are seibert, we are the biggest company in that merge, we give the direction. Of course, there are some things as we have the group and we have some processes that could not be changed, so some things are there, but it was really important for us to integrate them and to hear what are their thoughts and problems, and not to play these here we are big boss part. So, and I think it was good because now we're on a level where we can talk about everything, and
that's we had a similar situation, not really merge or something like that, but we went 2 years ago to a 4-day week. So we analyzed all our processes, meeting cultures, behaviors, and so on. And a 4-day week is a huge motivation for every employee to also change things, to improve stuff. But then relatively quick, we figured out that we struggle massively in feedback, how we give feedback and so on. And we hired an additional person with a psychology background, and she trained us massively in giving feedback, but also getting feedback. And we tried out different, not processes, but different approaches for doing it. And there was one interesting situation where a couple of my teammates asked for a classic yearly performance review. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm normally not doing it. I hated it in the past when I was on the other side of the table. I still hate it when I'm on the performance review. Need to give stuff. So I'm not a big fan of it. And my biggest challenge was that it was with the marketing team, 7 people overall, was, guys, I can't judge your complete work because I'm not sitting next to you the whole day. So you are a cross collaboration team. You are working together. And I tried the first time a peer-to-peer review. So means everybody need to give feedback to everybody. And I collected all the information and then had very long meetings. The longest was over 8 hours, split it in 2 days.
Wow.
One-to-ones. But this was so refreshing, because getting the picture, also what you said with the meeting culture, when we went through the survey questions, we should ask your colleagues how you did it and what they think. That was exactly this situation. And there was super time consuming, but I really found this is an amazing thing. And that also changed completely how the team is giving feedback to each other, because that was a little bit the opener, that they are now going direct to each other and saying, hey, I don't like this result. Let's discuss how we can do it. And the biggest learning was on this whole feedback stuff was there. It's much better to criticize a result instead of the way how somebody is working. So because that's heavy personal. When I say, Katharina, how you manage all the chats and so on, that's totally not right. Is complete different as when I say, hey, Katharina, the presentation what you have sent to me, I think there are 2-3 ways what we could do better. So yeah, interesting playbook stuff. What do you face in the next 6 months?
Yeah. So actually, I think it's still a challenge, and hopefully we getting all those teams together so that we can work properly. It's not that it's not working now, but of course there can be improvement. I just told you that we have this new subsidiaries. Like Denmark is half a year ago, so we founded it half a year ago, I guess. And of course it's like a challenge to get them into all processes and explain how it works at Seibert. And so for me, I hope that we are a big step further in the next 6 months.
Okay. So do you have, I mean, you created your own playbook. I assume you experimented a little bit with the stuff. Now, do you have already learnings from your starting point, where you maybe thought a couple of months ago, hey, it's an amazing idea to write everything in Confluence, and now you figured out, no, that's not an amazing idea. Do you have some learnings already, what you want to share, what you want to do different in the next 6 months?
So I would say they're really specific, so I'm not sure if I can share them. But however, we have learnings, and what we did is we wrote them down to have like a playbook ready if we have another subsidiary. So this was basically a learning. Like, okay, what did we? What was our experience? What was good? What was not so good? And creating a playbook from the experiences we made. So yeah, but it's really like in detail, so might not be interesting here.
Yeah, you can share it on a public internet page or something like that. No, I think that's a really good idea. To writing it down, the learnings. It's we started with all the feedbacks what all colleagues have to the company. We started to create them as projects or goals in its focus, called focus nowadays. Project Watermelon in the past, and then what was it in between? Atlas was the name. So
Atlas,
many names. Yeah. So that people are aware of, okay, what are open feedback points, and we also show on what we are working at the moment, because you get always more feedback as you can improve at the same time, to give this transparency back to the team. Okay, this is what we learned, this is what we want to change, and so on. Interesting.
And what we had as well is like we did a really, really huge scaled retro with all the teams that were in this merge, and of course all like other teams that are not has been merged, but like had contact to these topics. And I think this was really good as well, because of course there were some things not going perfect, and so everybody had the chance to give feedback and to reflect what worked good, what not. So yeah, this was a good thing as well.
What is your vision for where you want to be in 1 year with this topic?
In a perfect world, we would have like a perfect playbook with checklists saying, okay, your subsidiary, we need to do this. And we can integrate all those people by doing X, Y, Z. But actually, I know it won't work that way because we were talking about cultures. So it might be a total different culture, and there are other things coming up we did not expect, and it depends on law in specific countries. So building up a subsidiary, for example, is not the same in Denmark than in France. So of course you cannot be prepared for everything, but it would be great if we had like a good base. Yeah.
Okay, that's so means there are more plans to have then to expand also to. I mean, you said you're expanding now to France, or it's an ongoing process at the moment. So means we will see more seibert countries in the future.
Hopefully.
Cool, perfect.
Yeah.
Katharina, thank you very much. It was super inspiring. I learned some new things, which I always love to do the podcast. I think the biggest value is just that I have 1.5 hours time to talk somebody deeply about things. Thank you very much for joining me today. And
likewise, I really loved the conversation. It was felt like a really short time now, and it was nearly 1.5 hours. So thanks a lot for having me.
Cool, perfect. And then I'm looking forward to doing a second episode after a while. Then latest in a year, that we can check if your vision came to true.
Awesome. Thank you, Björn.
Thank you very much.